Yeah, so I'm just going to talk about using Telegram with your Raspberry Pi. There's lots of different tutorials on this subject, but not, and I couldn't actually find one that actually does anything with it. So Telegram is just an instant messenger. So this is their logo. So it's very similar to WhatsApp, but they've set it up so you can create your own bots to do whatever you want. So you interact with those bots by chatting with it. So there's various commands that they suggest you have, things like /start, etc. But you don't have to follow that convention. You can make it do whatever you want. So the bots are normally a service to many users. So you have chat bots for help desks and accepting payments, providing information, alerts, and things like that. But that's not what I'm talking about doing. I'll talk a bit more about that. There's more information there, and I provide the list at the end of the talk as well. But if you're an introvert, you don't need to serve the public. You can just keep it all within yourself. So you can have a bot and you can message it, and other people can message it, but your bot will only respond to you. So if you have someone that finds your bot, because they're all public, and they message your bot, that whatever it was going to send to that person, it sends to you instead. So this is just a great way to leverage the Telegram infrastructure to get access to your Pi. So my particular use case is the water softener reminder, and I think I talked about this previously. But essentially, a water softener just has a bunch of salt in it, and every night, so the water goes through this green canister here, and when it comes out the other side, it has all the lime scale removed and goes into your house and sort of goes through the pipes. But every night at 3 o'clock or whatever time you set it to, you have to, it sort of makes some brine here to clean the chemicals in there, the resin in there. So my little program just watches the amount of salt in it. It measures that by a time of flight or a LiDAR, and then it sends out by a telegram a message every morning. So every morning at 6 a.m. after it's done, it's clean. It measures the height of the salt, and it sends the telegram to me, to my mobile. And it like the NeoPixel strip, so I can open my cupboard and see it there. So physical build's fairly simple. So you got the Raspberry Pi there, got a homemade hat that I made, and it goes to the LiDAR here, and it goes to this Raspberry Pi strip that goes up and down to show what's going on. It's not a very nice build, but it works. It's been working for 2 years, 2.5 years. So why would we want instant messaging? Well, for my particular use cases, I don't want to pull up a web page and remember to load it every morning to see how it's doing. Who knows what security concerns that might have. Email, I've got lots of email. I don't really want to scroll through emails trying to find the thing for my water softener reminder. I don't check it very often. I don't want to be going to it every once in a while. But with Telegram, it's instant. There's no port forwarding or any sort of network change you have to make. You've got the bot history, so every message you sent, all the reboots, every external user that's tried to talk to your bot, etc. is all there. You get a nice little beep on your phone and notifications and one-liner. So at the top of my phone, it'll say, either tell me the amount of salt in, or it'll say, warning, you're running low on salt, that sort of thing. And you can adjust it for whatever you want. So if you want to, I used to have it twice a day, and I went down to once a day, just so you can customize it however you want. So what you do is you create a bot, and you just go into this bot father application. That is a bot itself, and then you can, this is what the output looks like every morning. It comes and pings me on my phone. So all you really do is you set up by a bot father, as I mentioned. It gives you a token, and then your library or your code just sets up the bot using this token. You check for messages on a loop if there's messages coming in or you want to send messages out. You decide what response to do and to who to send it to, whom to send it to. And then you can use the library to send and receive messages. And there's very little or no load on the Pi. So it's not like hosting a web server like that. All you're doing is sending a message or sending an image to the Telegram web page that handles everything from there. So just a real quick demo. So I think everyone can see that. So I've got, so that's the Telegram interface. You have it on your phone. You can have it on your phone. You can have it on your desktop, whatever you want. So here you can see my bot, me chatting with my bot. So obviously RK is me. And you can see here, it has every single message that it's ever sent to me and I've ever sent to it. So you can see, for example, things were going very wrong, so it kept restarting. I think this is when I was developing, and there's other times where it just kept restarting, kept rebooting itself or whatever. It just, ended up being a bit of a nightmare. And you can sort of see the iterations I made of the different images here. Sort of, it's too crowded, then I changed the way I was doing it. So you can see here, this is just the salt level on the side. So in millimeters, 323 millimeters. It's just bouncing around a little bit. And as time goes on, you can see thousands and thousands of messages here. You can see the evolution of the diagram I'm sending. So it's telling you how much salt is left, when you need to refill it, and the time and date, and provides a little graph so you can see that the salt is being used. If you see the salt sort of flat line, you've got a problem. I don't know if you noticed, but there's this, I had this little plate sitting on top of the salt as a target for the LiDAR, but it got caught on this sort of overflow valve. So it just wasn't getting it. What the salt looked like, it wasn't decreasing. So just things like that can happen. So you can just see every day what's happening. So let's get to the end here. So you can see like years and years, like a couple of years of data here to this morning, where you can see, the message came in at 7 o'clock. This morning I had 63% of the salt left. It's at 202 millimeters, and I need to refill it when it gets to 160 millimeters. And then it gives you the time and the date, which I didn't think would be useful, but actually, for some reason, the operating system, or somehow the Pi stopped being able to tell time properly. So although it's normally hooked up to NTP, for some reason it couldn't contact NTP, and it was just sort of free running. So I don't know what happened, but I ended up having to rebuild the operating system. So if I do something like start, which is your typical command to send to your bot to just get things moving, it takes a few minutes to process, just because I don't want to overload the little Pi 0W that's doing the work. So it says here, I don't know what to do with start, try salt or history. So if I just do history, then it sends me the latest graph here, essentially, of, so it just resends the graph. And if I put salt, it makes a fresh measurement. And you can add other things as well. Obviously, you could tell it to reboot, or you could tell it to do whatever you think you need it to do. I wouldn't mind adding something like, time up and things like that, just so you can get some sense of how your Pi is doing, how long it's been up. You could ask it to send you the temperature, its temperature, or whatever you think is appropriate for your application. So there's that. That's essentially my bot working away in the background. And what's going on here? Yes. So that's how that works. And if you look on, I provide these links at the end of the presentation. So you've got the Telegram messaging app, what that looks like. You can get it for PC and Linux and iOS and Macs. Then they've got this page on bots. So unlike other companies, they don't hide how to do it. They make it quite easily how to do it. So you've got, you can set up your own news server, You can integrate with a whole bunch of other things, accept payments, create custom tools, build games, social services, anything else like that you want. So what it says is you create this bot, the bot father. I'm sure some of you older guys have seen the film Godfather. So if we just take a look at that, so it just has commands here, so you can just sort of, all these different commands, create a new bot, check your bots, set the name and description, etc. So if we just go /new bot, so we go say Raspberry Pint. Okay. Yeah, and then it gives you this secret token that allows you to access your bot. And then you also need to get your username or your user number from Telegram, and there is a bot for that. I can't know if I can find it. Yeah, there's another bot that'll tell you your user number. So there's other examples of bots that I pulled up here. So you've got GitHub Bot, so you can link this bot to your GitHub. So we'll notify you, for example, if someone is adding to your GitHub repo or whatever. This alert bot can send you essentially an alarm to tell you what time it is or whatever, things like that. You just imagine the sorts of things you could do. So if we just go back, so let's go into my SSH. So I've got this running as a service, and you can see here it's processing the commands. So it gives me the time at which I type those commands. Obviously, it's been a while since I developed this, so I haven't, so it's fairly terse. You could add all sorts of things here. You can add whatever you want to make it more verbose or less verbose, whatever you want. So that's that. And sorry, just pull this up. And then the API itself. So I did all that by this telepot library. It's a Python library that tells you how to do it. So you've got your installation, you get the token, you test the account, you receive messages, send messages, etc. So it's quite good about telling you how to do it. But obviously, all that is doing is wrapping around the actual API. This Telegram Bot API is the real deal. So you don't need to use the Python library. You can roll your own. You can do whatever you want. It's probably better if you just went straight to the API. I think most people are capable of just programming straight to the API rather than using the library. I don't think the library actually helps that much. So it's worth taking a look at that. Just very quickly, so you can see here, this is my Python code. And it's just, I'm importing Telepot. I'm importing their message loop. I've got a very simple little function to send or prepare for preparing outgoing telegrams. And then there's the interface itself. So you load up your secret information from JSON or wherever you want. You can hard code if you want. You set up your bot. You tell it what my user ID is, so it only sends back to me. And then you just get some information. You set up queues, and then you just look for messages coming in and messages going out. I won't go through all the code that's available here on my GitHub page, so you can take a look at that if you want. Sorry. And I think, yeah, so that is really wanted to show. Let's go back to the presentation. So I did have a few problems. So I have lots of reliability issues. So there was issues with just losing communication with the internet. It just turned out that Buster, the later version of the Pi OS, was just a bit better than the previous one, which I think was called Stretch. I had a bunch of coding issues. It's sort of my own problem. Hardware problems, of course, is sort of my own problem, of course. Had that corrupt OS I mentioned. There's all sorts of issues I thought were telegrammed, either Telegram or library issues, but none of them were actually turned out to be actually any problem. So let me slip a few people in here. Yeah, so recommendations. I think instant messaging is great. So Telegram is one of those options. So it's quite easy. It's got a good library, and both the library itself and the documentation is very good. So you can see it, you can just go to the API, and I'm sure you'll be able to figure out how to use it. With the library, I guess, is probably slightly easier, but I don't know if it's all that much easier. You can sort of see how one maps on the other quite quickly. So definitely recommend considering Telegram. So it's interrupt-driven activity. So you sort of sends you messages and you can sort of quickly take a look and decide what to do about it, if anything. So it might be good for that, sort of raising alarms or infrequent measurements. I do recommend some sort of heartbeat. So once a day, I know I should be getting a message from the bot. If I don't get it, then I can check on the bot. Or things like that. If you just receive a message whenever there's an alarm, how do you actually know it's working when you need it? So some examples I thought about Pis. So you could have just monitoring your Pi, send you an alarm if it's too hot or if you're lower space, or just want to do some exception handling. Say you have some sort of critical function running on your Pi, and you just want to send a message saying, about to halt. For some reason, you can send the exception information. Maybe you want to monitor your network, making sure that no one's scanning your ports or some devices failed or something like that. I could easily make it a remote control, so you could easily send it a command that says, turn my NeoPixels red or blue or whatever you want, or turn fans on and off. If you had like a greenhouse control system, you could send it messages, do things manually rather than automatically. Or you could have a camera trap if you have a camera connected to your Pi, just watching for animals, for example. Then you could have it send you a message whenever it sees something, or all sorts of things. Just sort of whatever project you can imagine, there may be a use for it. And there's references at the end. So just the various the various links I showed you, and the teleport library, which I think is quite good. And that's it, really. So I don't know if that was clear enough. I think it's a good technique. It's something that might be of use to some of you. Thought I'd share that just in case you may come across a problem or think about things, and it may provide a solution for you. Any questions? John, do you have a question?
Can you show those links again, please?
Yeah, I thought that was, excuse me, really quite cool. I was just wondering what that terminal manager you're using was.
Oh, this one.
The one that you had all the kind of,
yeah, this one.
You had a file display in the left-hand column.
Yeah, it's called MOBA Xterm.
Is it just Xterm? Okay.
Yeah, MOBA Xterm.
Mob Xterm.
Yeah, MOBA Xterm.
All right, cool. I'll have a look.
Yeah, it's quite good actually. I do recommend it.
Yeah, it looks really interesting.
Yeah, you've got lots of. It has all sorts of. If I just want to open a new instance of that, I just click on it and it opens it up.
MOBA Xterm. There we go. Cool. Thank you.
Yeah,
I really like the Telegram stuff. I think that's going to be quite useful for me.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's not for every project, obviously, but if you have something where you want to be notified of something every day, or if something goes horribly wrong, then it is something that is instant. And you can imagine making, if you improve on it, if you had, something that's worth querying about, if you just get an alarm
Absolutely.
saying running out of salt, and you say, well, what time did you run out of salt or something like that, you could provide a query language, for example.
Absolutely.
I think Telegram's very good. I was going to say, because I use it with my Home Assistant installation, and it's great for just doing notifications, but also it's great for diagnostics as well. Because if you're trying to work out something in terms of any automations or particular time of day events, it's really good. And again, it really integrates extremely well in Home Assistant. So yeah, it's a brilliant platform. I totally agree, Richard. It's brilliant.
Yeah, I was quite happy to find it. I was originally searching for a way to connect to WhatsApp, but I think that's more complicated.
I had exactly the same thing. Yeah, WhatsApp's rubbish in terms of that.
Yeah, I think this is better. It's multi-platform. It's all open, and it just seems like a better platform, really.
And it sounds like one of the use cases that I can think of right now is I've got a Pi camera which takes a picture of anyone who walks up the drive.
Yeah.
And what I don't do yet is send a picture to my phone, and that would be quite handy.
Yeah, can absolutely do that. That's not a problem. I mean, you saw the images that I did. That's just a simple graph, but you can send photos or anything you want, really. And you don't have to worry about sizing it or anything like that. You just tell it, send this image, and it does it. So rather than coding all that stuff yourself.
And have you found the Python library okay?
It's all right. Yeah, it's good. I mean, it's mature. I mean,
Right.
If you look at the version number, I think it's like 12.8 or something.
Okay.
So the guy's been busy on it. He's not. He takes it seriously. I mean, he's got. Yeah. I mean, you can see it's. There's version numbers here somewhere.
Yeah, what I'm actually thinking is that my software is already written in Python, and it would be easy to extend that with really just another function which says after it's taken a picture, send the right picture across.
Yeah, so I did it as a thread. So it runs in its own thread, and it just waits. It has a queue open. So then you don't have to worry about, your Pi being, I want my Pi to do whatever it's supposed to be doing for the water softener monitoring. If it's a separate thread, I'll just sort of work in the background and send the messages out. So I send it via queue. I just send a message via the queue, and it just deals with it when it can.
It seems like the documentation is really good, actually. Having banged my head with GroupMe for a week or so, a bit of a while ago, this seems an awful lot better. Good find.
Yeah, I've been quite impressed with the documentation, actually. It's quite good.
And is it straightforward to be able to issue a bash command? So you could send a message, and that message would call a function which used the OS library to issue a bash command?
Yeah, definitely. That wouldn't be a problem. I mean, you just have to grab that command and pipe it to your OS. There's a Python function for that, obviously. I think the OS library allows you to do that, so you can.
Yep.
I'd be a little bit hesitant to do. May want to limit it somehow.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking that there's only so many commands would be useful in that case.
Yeah. I think things like, like do a cleanup on the SD drive or something. If you mention your camera thing, there can be a lot of cruft in there, can't there? You have all sorts of, very old photos that are just getting in the way and taking up memory. I mean, what's on simple maintenance commands? You don't actually have to log in by SSH or anything like that. You just want to send a quick command and forget it. Yeah. I do recommend if you, one thing I did was I added some code to deal with problems, like handling exceptions. And I thought, well, the easiest way of dealing with it is to reboot the Pi. So all this stuff is happening here. But before I did it, so this is the forcing the reboot here, os.system, and I'm forcing the
Yep.
reboot. But obviously I realized, well, you don't want to go into reboot every time you have a problem, because you can't really solve the problem. The first thing it does, it comes up and reboots again. So you got to be careful of that. So that's what I did, is I said, we'll sleep for 300 seconds. You know, give a warning saying you're going to reboot in 300 seconds, and then wait a bit so you have a chance to actually intervene. Especially when you're debugging, you want to be able to jump in there and not go through endless reboots, especially the Pi0W, because it just sort of takes forever.
But in a lot of cases, you don't really care if it's down for a few minutes. I must admit, what I do is use cron, and in some of them do a daily reboot.
Yeah, that's
you
another way of doing it.
Just basically, I just use cron. I've got all the instructions in one file. It calls the file and reboots the whole damn thing.
Yeah, I just like to see how long the bot's been up for, though. Just want to make sure it's nice and reliable. So I've been, you know, I think it lasted 1.5 years before it fell down.
I wish mine were that good.
Yeah, it's not bad, actually. It's sort of, I was quite happy with that. Any other questions, comments? I don't know if there's anything in the chat that I was supposed to answer. Yeah, so it does have, there's a question there from Mark asking about whether or not there's a resend functionality. It's a good question. I guess I'm not sure. I don't think I think you'd have to write your own. So you can see here, I've sort of, I'm opening. So I try to send the message here. If it doesn't work, I think I just go into, my exception handling, which is a bit blunt. You wouldn't have to do that. You could put in retries and stuff like that, but you'd have to do it yourself. So when my network breaks, I just reboot the thing by the exception handling. Cool. If there's no other questions, then I'll stop there. We'll have a quick break.